Let's get more now with Mustafa Barghouti, who's the Secretary General of the Palestinian National Initiative. He joins us now from Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. Really good to have you back with us, Mustafa. Can I get your initial reactions to the killing of three of Ismail Haniyeh's children and three of his grandchildren?
It's a savage Israeli provocation and attack. I'm sure Netanyahu personally and Gallant and the others were personally responsible for taking this decision. These were practically civilians in a civil home, trying to maybe show sympathy to each other during the first day of the Eid for Palestinian Muslims. And this attack comes. I mean, of course, it is so savage to kill Palestinians, not only these 6 innocent people, but any Palestinian who is killed today. It's a provocation that on this particular day, the Israeli army is attacking in this manner and killing innocent civilians in this way. Maybe they thought that by doing so, they will provoke a certain reaction, that it will be an act of pressure on the Palestinian side. But as we've seen from the reaction of Mr. Ismail Haniyeh, to whom we show our deep condolences, he has shown how firm he was as a leader. He has shown that such acts will not break Palestinians. And he said it very clearly that his sons are like everybody else in Palestine, like the 40,000 other Palestinians who were martyred and killed by this Israeli vicious and fascist government. It will not change the attitude of Palestinians. It will not break our will. But it shows us more and more that there is no way that peace can be made with these savage people who dare to kill children and dare to kill civilian Palestinians and try to provoke Palestinians in this terrible manner. It will not break Palestinians, but at the same time, it leaves a very deep scar about the amount of atrocity that is happening against our people.
Yes, and as you say, Mustafa, Ismail Haniyeh himself has said that these killings would not change Hamas's position on a possible truce. We know that truce negotiations in Cairo have been ongoing and the two sides couldn't be further apart at this point. How will this affect those negotiations, given that it seemed that both sides were really far apart in terms of agreeing on the conditions towards another ceasefire?
In my opinion, Netanyahu did this attack because he wants to provoke the Palestinian side, because he wants these negotiations to fail, and then he wants to use this failure to conduct a terrible massacre in Rafah and to expand even the war. Netanyahu knows very well that the end of the war means the end of his political career and the fact and the possibility of him going to jail. And that's why he is adamant at continuing this terrible war. But I assure you that this killing, which is very painful, especially for Mr. Haniyeh and his wife, to whom we also show our sympathy, losing 3 of your sons and 3 of your grandsons in the same day, and especially on this day, is not an easy matter. But it will not affect the Palestinian positions in negotiations. People don't negotiate on behalf of a family, of one family. They negotiate on behalf of the Palestinian people in general, and considering the interest of all the Palestinian people. And I think this Israeli provocation will not achieve its goals. But at the same time, people must understand how dangerous now Netanyahu is, and there can be no step forward in any kind of relief of the situation or any kind of a real ceasefire without removing Netanyahu from his position as Prime Minister of Israel.
Yes, and we're yet to receive a response from the United States, but we know Joe Biden and his administration had become increasingly frustrated with the way Benjamin Netanyahu has been dealing with this war. We know that the US essentially condemned Israel in the wake of last week's killing of 7 international aid workers. He's also warned Netanyahu against invading Rafah in southern Gaza. How do you expect Biden might react to the killing of Haniyeh's family members?
I don't know, but he should, before he reacts, he should remember, he should imagine that these children were the children of an Israeli leader and behave on that basis without discrimination between Palestinians and Israelis. If he was fair, and I am not sure about that, he will condemn this attack and he will issue his condolences to Mr. Ismail Haniyeh. But I'm not sure he is fair. And at the end of the day, it's the United States' responsibility for the continuation of this war for more than 184 days. If the United States was really serious, they would have stopped this war long time ago. They are angry at Netanyahu because he failed. He failed in achieving any of his goals. He couldn't extract or destroy resistance as he promised. He couldn't impose his military control of Gaza. He couldn't bring back Israeli prisoners by force. And he couldn't conduct his main goal, which is ethnic cleansing of people in Gaza. They gave him a lot of time and he failed. But now I think it is the responsibility of the whole world to pressure Israel and to impose sanctions on Israel, especially sanctions of military aid to Israel and military trade with Israel, to stop this terrible atrocity. Let's remember, these 6 people are an addition to 40,000 Palestinians who have vanished, including no less than 15,000 children.
Yes, and this, of course, isn't the first time that Israeli forces have targeted Ismail Haniyeh's family members. Soon after he learned of this terrible news of the latest attack, he said that 60 members of his family have now been killed since the start of the war. Clearly, despite the ongoing tragedies within his own family, Ismail Haniyeh is resolute in the fact that this won't soften his stance in terms of negotiations with Israel. How much more can the Israelis do in terms of affecting the outcome of these negotiations and indeed the war in general?
Well, look, we're talking about criminals. You're talking about fascists like Ben Gvir and Smotrich. There is no limit to how far they can go. And these people are absolutely racist. They're religious Jewish fundamentalists who believe that Palestinians should not be here in this land, and who believe in the Great Israel, which means annexing not only West Bank and Gaza, but also Jordan and parts of Syria and parts of Egypt. They're fanatics. And I think they have become fascists completely, similar to the Nazi behavior in Germany at one point of time. So there is no limit to how far they can go. But one thing I am sure of, these acts of crimes, these acts of horrible crimes will not deter Palestinian leaders and will not change their approach or positions, because, as I said, these leaders behave and negotiate on behalf of a whole people, not on behalf of their own personal families. But these guys governing Israel don't understand that. They have different values, they have different standards. Netanyahu is a big cheater. He has deceived so many people. He's ready to kill his own mother to stay in power. And a man who is accused of 4 cases of corruption I think has very little human values or moral values in general. And that, of course, reflects on their behavior. But that will be recorded in history. And this noble position of Ismail Haniyeh, which we've heard today, his resilience, will also be recorded. Because why do we have this difference? Because one side is oppressive, one side is criminal, one side is conducting apartheid and discrimination and killing of Palestinians, and the other side is fighting for freedom. That's the nature of the situation. The long-standing historic struggle between the good and bad. And Palestinians are struggling for their freedom, and nobody can stop this struggle from going on.
Okay, Mustafa Barghouti, we will have to leave it there. Really appreciate you taking the time out on the first day of Eid. Thanks again for joining us.